What's up, everybody? My name is Ren, and welcome to Xbox Gamepass in Review, your first look at the latest and greatest on the Xbox Gamepass network. Now, today we are introducing a new format for our Gamepass in Review segment, since, well, the hour-long format doesn't put all my opinions of the game into a digestible video. So we'll be moving forward with two versions of Xbox Gamepass in Review from here on out. Xbox Gamepass in Review, Field Inspection, and Xbox Gamepass in Review, BLUF, or bottom line up front. Field inspection will be a long look at the game for about an hour, breaking down the first impressions I have of the game and playing the beginning aspects, so you know what to expect coming into it, while BLUF will be about a 10 to 20 minute review of the most important thoughts about the game. I will try my best to put both out at the same time since I do a series of recording sessions in a row and can easily apply my knowledge from that into my thoughts and opinions. Without further ado, let's dive right into our first episode of Xbox Gamepass in Review, bottom line up front. Ever want to walk into an irradiated wasteland without having to worry about scrounging for caps and hiding from Deathclaws, synths, and communists? Well, now you can drop right into the heart of the wasteland left by the Chernobyl disaster in Stalker 2, though you still will probably be hiding from communists. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl was released on the Xbox Gamepass on November 20th of this year and is the long-awaited addition to the Stalker franchise. Originally released in 2007, Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl quickly became a hit in the growing survival horror market, with its sequels Stalker Clear Sky, released in 2008, and Stalker Call of Pripyat in 2010, making it into a rememberable cult classic game. Unfortunately, developers GSC Game World made fans wait 14 years to get another entry into the series, but that wait is finally over. Let's dig right into it. This game is not for the faint of heart or those who easily rage quit. Stalker 2 is difficult, but it's designed to be realistic for the context of its setting. You aren't the chosen hero destined to bring balance and water to the wastes of Nevada, but just a dude trying to get enough money from the glowing blue rock that trashed your apartment to pay for a new one. Because surprisingly enough, Soviet renter's insurance doesn't cover anomalous materials crashing into your roof. You, as a regular Joe, have to avoid mutated creatures and dangerous scavengers called stalkers while you try to get your precious payday back from the jackoffs that sold you out. However, even on normal difficulty, the game feels much harder than it ought to be. Enemies, both human and otherwise, take your submachine gun shots to the chest like light acupuncture, while their bullets and fangs can tear through the armor of a T-35. The inventory system relies heavily on backpack and weight management a la Resident Evil, and while bullets are somewhat easy to find if you kill enough enemies or explore empty buildings, you will be easily going through two 30-round mags just to take out one or two scavs. While you may think that that isn't a terrible pew-pew to death animation ratio, the real problem comes in the form of enemy density and the lack of ability to see those enemies coming. It isn't uncommon or unfair to be swarmed by a 3-man squad being upset you've trespassed into their half-decayed vodka factory, but it becomes a different story when the gunfire has attracted the attention of 3 other wandering scavs, 5 mutated dogs, 2 boars, and a suka in a pear tree, who all decide your slowly mutating ass is a tasty substitute for canned fish. Bottom line, while the game is certainly fun for a few minutes, around the 20th death you'll find it less amusing than a mutated dog can eat 2 shotgun shells point blank and leave you huddled in a corner bleeding to death while you struggle to bandage yourself to full health instead of wasting a medkit. This game is really designed for a more dedicated player base who enjoy the slow slog through the waste with little to no handholding. I do also recommend that this be played on PC rather than controller, as the built-in aim assist and general layout of the UI really favors that type of input. And maybe you won't completely miss your shots like I do while fighting. Now for the official rating. 4 out of 10 for the casual gamer, 8 out of 10 for the dedicated gamer. Now, I'm sure this is going to be a hot take, and I can hear the fans screaming at me now. Sounds like a skill issue. Why did you do that mission first? Well, if you get this weapon from this place, you could choose the early game. Have you thought about just getting good? And in fact, I'd wholeheartedly agree with you. But the simple truth is that I'm turning into a very casual gamer. Sure, I dedicate a lot of time to playing games and streaming, but I like to enjoy the time I spend playing those games. The gaming community is turning into a meta-following try-hard hellscape faster than big tech companies can purchase decently successful developers and studios to crank out garbage cash grab microtransaction battle pass games, and I for one simply won't follow those trends. Now that my little soapbox has used up its durability for this video, let's get to the nitty-gritty of my thoughts. Here are the pros. This game has a lot going for it. I absolutely love the size of Stalker 2. It's massive, and for that size it doesn't seem completely empty, even when you have to walk the entire map. There's always some kind of an encounter, whether it's an anomaly you must bypass or random enemies that you need to get through with your trusty 9-shooter. The world feels alive and full, which is something not every open world game can say. I also love the inventory and dialogue systems, or as I like to simply refer to them as, the UI. The grid inventory system seems a bit unnecessary when you consider that the backpack will extend slightly as long as you're under the carrying weight, but I do like the way it feels in the context and style of the game. The dialogue system, while basic, feels really good because your character will actually have a voiced line of dialogue instead of, silently giving your response to the NPC, which honestly I think should be more of a standard in most games by now. Lastly, I love the sound design. The game's musical scores and ambient sound effects makes the quarantine zone feel creepy and dangerous. You feel a certain amount of tension exploring dark places that make you feel paranoid about what could be lurking around the corner, and I really like that. Also, a little side thing is that I love that for every weapon in the game you can reload, then reload again to keep one in the chamber. It's just a small detail that really adds to the realism of the game, as many veterans I know still keep their home defense weapons and personal carries with one in the chamber, so kudos to them. Now, time for the cons. The damage balancing and enemy density in this game is terrible. As I mentioned before, I shouldn't need to go through a full mag of 5.56 to take out one lightly armored guy or 4 shotgun shells to put down a rabid dog. Also, while placement of shots does matter in this game, it doesn't seem to be that much of a difference in damage dealt unless you're aiming for headshots. Chest shots don't do as much damage as I expect an AK to do against some drunkard in a thick parka. I also don't think that it's very fair game-wise to have groups of 5 to 6 enemies gang up on you and have their weapons do far more damage than yours can do, especially when you're using the same weapons or suddenly come across a pack of 6 dogs that move around so fast that you can't even put shots on them. The visuals in this game are also a huge point of contention with me. This game is dark, and I don't just mean thematically. I mean you can't see shit. Now I know you're not supposed to be able to see at night, but even with the flashlight on, trudging through the first part of this game was a nightmare. I almost immediately had to brighten the gamma because I couldn't see anything around me or where to go. Besides the lighting, it's almost impossible to see enemies out in the distance, unless you're like 5 inches from the screen or a Warzone professional gamer. Yet somehow, these enemies will see you from half a click off and still be able to reliably put shots on you. I had multiple times where I was being shot at and had no idea where those shots were coming from. Again, I understand the realism, but that seems a bit overboard. Now, all of this I can easily overlook in the name of realism, and personally my lack of skill. What I cannot overlook, however, is my final point. The anomalous enemy types in this game are completely ridiculous. I mean, you have literal invisible enemies named bloodsuckers that, besides a slight Halo-esque glimmer, you can't see where they are. 3 hits from that thing and you're dead. If you're unlucky enough to come across one at night, you might as well reload right then and there, or hope that you can run away from it. I know the community members say, well, you're really not meant to fight those monster enemies, to which I say you clearly don't understand the Texan American mindset. If you come across an enemy, it should die with enough bullets. But when you come across an enemy like this thing,
the hell are you?
what are you supposed to do? Maybe it's an anomaly. Maybe it's an unkillable enemy. Whichever it is, the game certainly won't tell you. My biggest complaint is that while this game is supposed to be realistic and make you feel insignificant to the threats around you, it doesn't do enough to actually explain the game to the player. Hardcore gamers will really enjoy that fact, but as a casual gamer, I would greatly prefer to have a bit more hand-holding and not just be stuck playing on a lower difficulty. All around, Stalker 2 isn't a bad game, it's just not a good fit for most gamers trying to get the most out of the Xbox Gamepass. You will sink several dozen hours and may well get sick of dying before you even get through the first area or mission of the game. But if you are a masochistic gamer looking for that Souls-like realistic apocalyptic survival training sim, then this is right up your alley. Let me know if you think my opinion belongs in the radiation disposal bin or if I hit the nail on the head down in the comments below. If you have suggestions for other Xbox Game Pass or EA Game Pass titles you'd like me to try out, feel free to leave those down below as well. Thank you for tuning in, my name is Ren, and we will catch you on the next one. Later.